No, everybody can't stand them, but they've won 10 of 12 games, which is the craziest thing. When you go 10-2, you got to do something right. And they are 10-2 to beat the Jets. I mean, and they're going to go 13-5, 14-4. I mean, that team's much better than people think. But if Stevie wants to go out there and knock Cousins for the 9 millionth time and say, you know what, the Niners can win there. Hey, one thing Stevie cannot do today, and he's going to try to, he cannot. They are not winning a game in Philadelphia in cold weather in the late January with Brock Purdy a quarterback. Case closed. That's not happening. Philadelphia is going to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Go ahead, Kimberley.
You know, I do love Mad Dog. You know, Mad Dog, I do love you. But the fact that you would sit up there and disagree with Joe Montana, that you would disagree with a 4-time Super Bowl champion, like Joe Montana didn't convince you. He did. You think that, all of a sudden, Joe Montana doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to the 49ers, when it comes to winning championships? Here's what I know. When we talk over the years about the 49ers, it's always, oh, well, Jimmy's the quarterback, but they don't ask him to do too much. Jimmy's just kind of there and facilitating. Yes, his stats in games where he starts looks really good, but it looks really good because of the cast of characters. You're talking about how much you love the head coach. You love the head coach. I love the defense. I love the offensive weapons that they have. I think this is an offense with Kyle Shanahan that doesn't put too much on the quarterback. And you can say, you know, against the Bucs, Purdy's not going to catch them off guard like he did the Dolphins because the Bucs have time to prepare. They have tape on him now. But here's the flip side of that. Purdy came in with just off the bench and completed 25 of his passes through 210 yards, I believe. Like, the stage wasn't too big in that moment. Yeah, the Dolphins may not have the same defense as some of the other teams that they may have to face later in the year, but that still was an important game where you're losing Jimmy G to a significant injury, and here's a guy that everyone wants to talk about as Mr. Irrelevant, but as Montana said, he was very relevant on Sunday, and I think this roster, because of everything else that's around him, Kyle Shanahan, I trust Kyle Shanahan to put his QB in the best position. And furthermore, when you talk about Super Bowls, what's the indelible image from last year's Super Bowl? It is Aaron Donald sacking Joe Burrow. That is what I see. I don't think about the offenses. I don't think about any of that. I think about defense stepping up. So when I look at the 49ers, that's where my confidence is. And that's why I think it's very short-sighted to say that it is over for the 49ers.
I appreciate that explanation. Thank you very, very much. I'm here to correct. I'm here to correct both of you on a couple of points.
Ooh.
Number one, Kimberley, I don't think it's far-fetched for Doggy to proclaim they're not beating the Philadelphia Eagles, because in cold Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, against that defense, as physical as they play, as stout as they are on their defensive line, in their secondary, etc., it's going to be a tall ask for Purdy to go into that environment and get it done. We understand that. We have to get that out the way. The flip side to it, Doggy, is this. Here's the reality. When we talk about the 49ers, Super Bowl hope still alive, just because I'm predicting that Philadelphia would win does not mean that I'm saying, Doggy, that you know something? 49ers are dead. It's not like they can't win. Because let me tell you something. The 49ers style of play travels. You've got Deebo Samuels. You've got Christian McCaffrey. You've got George Kittle. And with them on the field, you don't have to engage in long ball tactics. You can dip and dunk. You can run screen plays. You got guys coming out of the backfield that can do some things. They play smash mouth football. They're very, very physical. And they have the ability to soften you up on offense. And we ain't even get to their defense, how they could get to the quarterback, how they could sit up there and apply that pressure, how they're stout against the run, the pass, everything else. They're the number one defense in the National Football League. In points allowed, in yards allowed, against the pass. And that's going to be something that the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, both are going to have to contend with if they're going to get to the Super Bowl. So we can't summarily dismiss San Francisco. You're right if you're thinking about Purdy. But I could make the legitimate argument, Doggy, a few years back, when San Francisco went to the Super Bowl. Did Jimmy Garoppolo get them there? Did you see his performances in the playoffs? In a divisional playoff game, in an NFC Championship game? He threw for like 130 yards combined in both games. He was a complete non-factor. Kyle Shanahan took the ball out of his hands and said, we can't let you mess it up. So we're going to figure out a way how to work around you. And it got them to the damn Super Bowl. And why couldn't they win it? Because when Kyle Shanahan put the ball in his hands and said, I need you to make a couple of passes here, key passes here, he couldn't hit the target. So the San Francisco 49ers already have some history of getting to the Super Bowl without that quarterback, okay? And the reality is when I look at Brock Purdy, I saw a dude with moxie, confident, stood in the pocket, took hits, made throws. But I'm saying if you're San Francisco, it's not even required. So, yes, I got Philadelphia coming out of the NFC. But I'm not summarily dismissing the threat, the legitimate bona fide threat that is the San Francisco 49ers. They are real, and we cannot ignore that.
Why does nobody mention Minnesota?
Oh, can I answer that?
You're right.
Field.
You're right, dog.
Can I answer that? May I answer that for you? Mad Dog Russo, you got your notes because you always writing down notes. You know what I'm saying? You're always chronicling stuff like that. You're doing your radio show every day on Mad Dog Sports Radio. 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, ladies and gentlemen. Mad Dog Russo, Channel 82, Sirius XM. Here's the deal. In the 2 games that the Minnesota Vikings lost, you do realize they lost 64-10. They got smashed on Monday Night Football by Philadelphia, and they got smashed 43 on their home turf by Dallas. Who are the 2 teams that you're projecting could potentially be standing in Minnesota's way? The 2 teams that slaughtered them. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.